10 years ago, Kentucky leaders recognized that they must take immediate action to improve the quality of life for Kentucky citizens. The state was trailing the nation in per capita income, as well as high school and college graduation rates.
I hate to admit this, but we were at the bottom, like 49th out of 50 states. It's not acceptable.
Post-secondary education reform in 1997 came from the fact that we'd fallen behind other states. The ability to compete is based on innovation. Innovation is based on education. So if we're going to compete in the global economy, education is foundational.
The leaders of our state in 1997 said, if we're going to achieve certain economic goals, we have got to achieve certain educational goals. It was very unique for a state to actually step back and say, that's what we're trying to accomplish with all this.
For us to make the kind of commitment to higher education and to higher education research that we did is very important.
Well, we had just completed one of the most important elementary and secondary education reforms in the nation, and that is the foundation for the kind of education that you need in today's world. So while you can't live in a foundation, you got to build a house. And I viewed post-secondary education in today's environment as the house on that foundation.
They changed the nature of the conversation from what do the institutions need to what does the state need, and that's a huge change of focus.
It brought together an incredible number of people with diverse interests from the business community, from the educational community, from the advocacy organizations, and we made fundamental change.
The General Assembly passed the Kentucky Post-Secondary Education Improvement Act of 1997, or House Bill 1. It mandated specific goals.
The General Assembly properly saw a very tight connection between the general education level of the people of Kentucky and our prosperity, our economic base. And for that reason, they established a fairly specific goal that by the year 2020, we would have the same level of educational attainment within our state as is the national norm.
Another interesting thing that I was very supportive of was the identification of key responsibilities for some of the institutions. The University of Kentucky being the premier research institution, the University of Louisville becoming a premier metro research institution, and identifying each of the regionals with an established center of excellence.
The most high-profile part of it was extracting the community colleges from UK. Looking back now, I know of almost no one who doesn't think that it was the right thing to do.
House Bill 1 built the infrastructure necessary to meet mandated goals, including creating the state's community and technical college system, the Council on Post-Secondary Education, and the Kentucky Virtual University and Library. Additionally, adult education became part of reform efforts in 2000. The Council developed a public agenda with a focus on 5 questions of post-secondary reform and implemented both statewide and institutional performance indicators to track progress.
I think we've made significant progress on the major indicators, the enrollments, degree completion, research and development expenditures, GED, graduation and participation in higher education. The community college system has been a huge success.
There's no question that we've made significant gains, and we have some national prominence in those gains.
I can tell you every day students are affected by the reforms of 1997, whether it be boosting financial aid, increasing access for students, and sending more Kentuckians to college who previously thought they couldn't make it.
One of the great success stories of post-secondary education reform is the Endowment Match Program, commonly known as Bucks for Brains.
There's no question that the Bucks for Brains funding, which is a national model for research funding where we're matching public dollars with private sector dollars, has jump-started the University of Louisville and the University of Kentucky particularly, but also several of the other schools have really worked hard at their research capacity and their ability to attract some of the world's best researchers.
As a Bucks for Brains professor, my work leads to the development of the next generation of scientists and clinicians in the state of Kentucky.
Thanks to the Bucks for Brains program, our research is helping Kentucky doctors in the early identification of child abuse.
We can't obliterate the neglect of 100 years in 10 years, But the better measure of how we have done is what has happened to that educatable population in these 10 years. We have more students entering college, we have more students successfully exiting college. So we've made progress in, I think, every field.
There's no question that House Bill 1 sparked tremendous progress over the past 10 years. But we're really only just getting started.
People brag about reform and how far we've come, but we've still got miles and miles to go before we sleep.
We've got to ramp it up even more. I mean, to get to 2020, the progress we've made in the past has to be accelerated. We've got to double the number of people in the Commonwealth that have a baccalaureate degree.
The Council's statewide business plan details the investments and outcomes needed to double the numbers.
Well, one of the things I think the statewide business plan will attempt to achieve is a higher level of accountability.
We're going to have to improve high school graduation rates. We're going to have to increase and enforce aligning the K-12 standards with those in higher education so that the students are really ready.
We have to make immediate decisions to try to ensure affordability is there and that Kentucky kids can go to school, afford to go to school, and can get the degrees.
It can't be business as usual because there's only 12 and a half years left.
While there is still much work to do, the return on Kentucky's investment in post-secondary education will be monumental.
The Long-Term Policy Research Center of Kentucky recently showed that if we could achieve our goal, then state revenues for our state government and our schools and our infrastructure would go up $9 billion. Per capita income, personal wealth, would go up $140 billion.
Over the course of a person's lifetime, the statistics show a likelihood that he or she will earn about $1 million more as a holder of a bachelor's degree than if that person never got a bachelor's degree.
People with a higher level of education have healthier habits. The health indices seem to be much better, and not only that, but they participate politically and voting in much higher levels.
It's going to take all of us working together. So we must do everything we can to develop that relationship and that partnership with the publics and the independents and business and industry, and all of us are going to have to work together to make Kentucky what we want it to be.
It's going to take tremendous leadership on the part of the council staff, on the part of the council, on the part of our elected officials, and on the part of businesses.
The most important role Kentucky business can play is to be advocates for education. That strategic investment in education is going to come from people in business such as myself who recognize the benefit and value to our businesses that education brings.
We all have to roll up our sleeves and be a part of that consciousness raising. It's not just the Council on Post-Secondary Education that needs to do it. The Kentucky Chamber of Commerce needs to do it. The governor needs to do it. We all need to be cheerleaders to help change a culture.
There's no real doubt as to whether this will be a financial challenge, one that we hope the General Assembly and the people of Kentucky will see the wisdom of rising to.
I would encourage people to look at it in terms of strategic investment and not cost, because there is no better return on invested capital than education. Absolutely none.
The statistics are compelling and the progress is encouraging, but the question remains, is the goal achievable? Can Kentucky double the number of baccalaureate degree holders by the year 2020?
Of course it's achievable. And I think I have to ask, what do we do if we don't? Even if we don't meet them, we'll come closer than we would if we say that's not achievable. The only thing you do perfectly is nothing.